I'm thinking of how best can I do this? I mean, how can I do what I'm doing better than I did the last time? I'm always trying to improve my performance. I think that's one thing I just continue to do.
First time.
You're kidding.
I'm sorry.
Te lembrei de você, moça flor. 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 Te lembrei de você, moça.
Hello, everyone, and welcome here to Dropzone, which is going to be brought to you by, or it's going to be our first-person duos tournament, and it's going to be powered by ViewSonic and Cooler Master, and we are excited. It's going to be first-person duos coming into this one, so it's going to be a little bit different than some of the ones we've run already. But before we get into all of it, I will introduce myself as Gormizer, and joining me on the mic tonight is going to be Heyday.
Hello, people. We've got big prizes, big potential.
I can't tell what's going on with Heyday's mic right now. It's cutting in and out, but as you can see, may have run into a little bit of a difficulty coming forward through this one as we have, I believe Heyday actually just cut out, so it's going to be interesting to kind of do this one and see how this handles going forward. We're going in with the spectator. Everything is going wrong, as you can imagine, the way it's supposed to happen with tournaments. Everything catches on fire on the back end, and I have to make it sound as good as possible. As you can see, we have a lot of players here competing. This is just going to be the qualifiers for the main event. So if I remember what I was told correctly, we're running 3 games tonight. It's going to be 17 from the first game, 17 from the second, 16 from the last one of these duos who are going to be taken out. And it's going to be relatively interesting to see how the players are going to handle it, just because with the way things have gone, we've seen all manner of play. We have seen people who have gone in for kind of the camping strategy. Let's just wait, play it safe, get into the circle and hope for the best, and others who are all out aggressive. And they're the ones who are going to be kind of running the, I want to say, the flow of the game. Whoever decides to go where they decide to go, jumping maybe for military base, getting as much loot as they can, hoping for the best. But as it stands right now, we still have 98 stuck alive, and they are going to be the ones who ultimately decide who is going to go on to the main event next week, as we see finally our spectator drowning, and we will get to watch now some of these games, hopefully not just in the water, but we can see everyone all spread out across the map. And now we have the true number of 97 alive, some still in their parachute trying to land. I see a 70 stretch, as well as a nice centralized circle here on the west side of the map. A couple players did make their way down to military base, so I expect a little bit of a bloodbath, but not so many that it's going to be that bad. So far, though, no one has managed to perish all across the board. Some headshots coming down. We're going to be seeing Fitz OW pick up 1 kill with the AKM, and Sulander going to get taken down almost immediately afterward by, presumably, Flitzy's own teammate. Shotguns, AKMs all around. They're going to be actually well looted up, and there's another team in the area. Going to have heard some of the shots, and when it comes down to it, they are going to be the ones who kind of get to decide if they want to go in, they want to fight. But again, the loot kind of dictates the pace of the game for each of these players. So at this point, more than likely, they're going to play this patiently. I saw a pistol, and that was about it. Over here by Milta, we see a couple of players still looting up. 94 left, so the initial bloodbath kind of exploding out as much as it could. One of the things that's going to be the bigger quirks I feel for this tournament is always going to be first person. A lot of people have been playing it since it came out. We've run a tournament or two, a few games to try and test out how it works for spectating, how fun it is. one of the reasons duos is always going to be better, I feel personally, for this mode is just when you go into that first person, you lose some of your vision that you would have normally. Having a second person allows you to have kind of a second pair of eyes, keep track of you around, just make sure no one's going to catch up on you as we see some aggression come in. The ump headshot going to be good right there. One knockout and waiting for the teammate. Here's him coming through. The ump going to be good, but not enough to save your life. And that's going to be Nova Creep. He gets the knockout, but ends up dying down, and his teammate gets taken out with him. So Sturm616 kind of being the savior for him and KBs.
We're here in the first circle. Red zone out. A lot of them are available.
So now with one team finally dominating Pochinki, a crate dropping just outside of Rozhawk, and it looks like we have a couple players who might be vying for that. One seems to be all on his lonesome, his teammate no longer being around with him, and that's going to probably be one of the deciding factors as to who can get this. It's not impossible to 1v2. It is going to be very difficult, though, when it comes down to it, and it's looking like it's going to be up to him, although it seems like he has downed a teammate. Childish Cambino is there, has a shotgun ready, waiting, and is just waiting for, I'm assuming, nerf me please here, to make the wrong move, get aggressive, try to fight, and to be able to take him down.
Okay, here we are. As you mentioned, Childish Cambino on the rooftop there. And these guys holding it down, as you mentioned before. We are in first-person perspective, very different as a player, very different as an observer here, as you don't have that peripheral vision, and you have to wait for players to peek. As he is there, he takes a shot with the shotgun, misses. Oh, but he hits that one, and the player goes down, kills Nerf me, please, with the shotgun blast.
A lot of people underestimate the range you can have on a shotgun, especially if that shotgun will have a choke on it as well. Once we see, a range shot like that, a range kill coming out of the shotgun, you feel it. You get a little heated, especially when you're the player who gets killed by it. But when it comes down to it, a lot of people will underestimate the range it has, and it's not enough to get you, some snipes, although I have seen some of the highlights. You can definitely do so. But coming out of it on top, Childish Cambino going to be able to get that kill and that crate, potentially, if they noticed its drop, that is going to be just on the western side of Rozhawk here, but it seems like they might be unaware that it's there.
Yeah, just moving from house to house, clearing out, potentially a bit slower, and then you're going to see with that third-person perspective, since you have such a good view over everything, there is that crate in the middle of nowhere. They're unattended at the moment, and they're pretty much unattended as well. Took out the enemies in their vicinity, but the cities around them are well populated, and this is where it gets dangerous. This is where we're going to start to potentially see some early game firefights as these teams move on in on each other with less of a view and a tell that the other team is there.
So one of the things I'm most excited for, especially for this tournament in particular, all the other ones we've had, every now and then there might have been a gun addition, there might have been something added to a crate. I remember, when the M14 or the MK14 got added to the crate, it was going to be really hyped to see someone finally get that. But with this one, we have 2 drops. The Tommy gun, not necessarily a new gun, but going to be a plain drop now. And we're also going to be able to see the Mini 14 getting picked up and dropped out. And I'm kind of interested to see which players, what they tend to opt for. A lot of them, in the old games, the old tournaments we ran, always kind of opted towards the same build. They always had one assault rifle, and it was usually an M16 or an AK, and then an SMG. But now they have a lot more options. They can kind of fully flesh that out. Are we going to see more Tommy guns? I presume we're going to see a lot of Mini 14s when anyone can find it. And the thing that's catching my eye as we just kind of pan over the map, there are still some players down in the military base looting as much as they can.
What caught my eye as well is the different ways that these teams play the loot game early on. As you can see, some teams are staying real tight together while other teams are splitting up. And that gets to be a hairy situation sometimes in first person as you're moving through if you don't have your teammate watching your back necessarily there. Another thing I wanted to ask you about, Gore, if you've seen this in the duos play as well, we talked about last time we were live a little bit about how positions on the team or even classes on the team are almost forming out of the meta here, where you have a support player who's going to be loading up on the ammo and maybe some energy drinks to support the Slayer on the team. What's the composition that you're seeing in the duos play? Is there a Slayer and a support, or is everybody just running and gunning?
I want to say it's kind of half and half. Some people do like to, like, I mean, obviously everyone's going to play to the team. They're going to pick up, like, if I see some ammo and me and you are playing, it's like, oh, hey, your gun uses this, I'm going to grab it for you. But a lot of what it has been is, sometimes equal splitting, sometimes every man for himself in terms of loot. But when it comes down to it, they will be like, everyone's going to work together. So if I go down, I don't have any heals, you pick me up, you're going to give me something usually to let me prolong because it's going to keep you alive. The big thing I'm thinking of, it's kind of like Army of Two, if anyone ever played that, just because back in that was kind of the, go back to back. You're going to make sure, like, I have your back, you have mine. I'm going to trust you to hit the shots you need to hit. And if you don't, we're both going to end up dying because of it, because we're trying to kind of split our attention, do the best we can. With a lot of players actually hovering around Gotka, which is a kind of rare, unique situation. Not a lot of players really like going into this area. Not necessarily the best loot, definitely not the best cover, surrounded almost entirely by fields. But we're going to see some players kind of waiting it out. They're in the middle of the circle, and this is something that's kind of common as well. It's just kind of, you're in the circle, the first one's spawning, you're just going to wait to see where the next one goes.
Yeah, it gives me shivers thinking about those players out there in those unexposed areas. We also saw a lot of players that are riding that blue wave in. It's a light hitting wave at this point. But what's been hitting hard and catching players more and more off guard, I think, is that red zone, which we see in the middle of the circle there. But at this point, early in the game, there's still a lot of players outside of that safe zone still making their way in.
We're going to be seeing a couple players down right now. It looks like Headshotterer looking for some shots over here on the side, but it's going to be CSKED looking to try and find the last few hits. I see that one teammate knocked down. Vado Exi is going to be on the ground, and it's just patiently waiting. And I like the kind of play this is. You keep them locked to the tree, they can't do anything. And it looks actually like we see New York here with a Groza picked up. So he has the damage, he has the potential to fight. But things just don't seem to be going too well for him. He is stuck behind this tree. Every step out has resulted in at least one bullet finding him.
Yeah, I love the pull away shots too. When we see these two players, these two enemies sizing each other up from behind cover, peeking out a little bit. You don't want to peek as much potentially in first person here, as not really sure what your counterpart is seeing across the way. But as we pull up with these shots with the camera, you can see that real distance there and what it might take for one of these players to get a shot off. We've seen some really impressive shots, not just out in the wild with PUBG, but also in the PUBG League here. And these players are going to move in towards that tree area, playing it nice and safe. And I think we're, at least at the beginning here in qualifiers, are going to see a lot of people playing it safe, trying to get in that top 10.
We're going to be hearing some bombs dropping in the distance. Two teams right next to each other. And of course, at this point, you hear their footsteps. Both of these buildings are very well designed for holding. So defense-wise, neither team really wants to be the one that's getting aggressive. Looking through the windows, looking through the doors at the porch, potentially holding an angle that the other team might not be able to expect is going to be your best option. But it seems like both of the teams are waiting for the other one to kind of make that aggressive choice. We see down in the bottom left, it's Batman, one of the players who we have seen a few times, knocking out someone. Him and his teammate going to be looking for some kills as these two teams, one of them just holding that door as best they can.
Yeah, that's a tough spot. We've talked about this before on the cast. You have teams there that are not necessarily afraid to make the first move, but cautious to make the first move. They're sitting in a very nice spot as far as the circle is concerned. But at this point, how much loot do you lose out on? How much potential loot is lost when you sit there and you wait? Maybe they're looted up heavily already and they can wait it out. I always want to pay attention to these names, take note of these names here that are sort of playing this waiting game in the early to mid game to see exactly how that pays off for them later, since they're both just sitting there holding their ground in a very nice, comfortable position.
It's always one of those things that I feel like you will lose a lot of loot if the other team, if they're standing there with pistols or shotguns and SMGs only, you're going to end up losing out. But when it comes down to this, we saw both of the teams having assault rifles, kind of being prepared for maybe a more mid-range-esque fight. They're going to be able to take that time. You're going to lose some time moving around, but you're in the circle, you're safe, and you get pretty much every prize that you would ever want off of the enemy team. And that's kind of the goal. Some people prefer to play that way. Get the basic loot. You have a vest, you have a helmet, ideally level 2s when you go into it, and you just go for the fight. You have your backpack on, so you have a little bit of room. But you're going to go to kill, try and get whatever you can in terms of meds, try to get whatever you can in terms of ammo from other players. And as we can see, the second circle will be spawning here now. And a lot of these players are now forced to kind of move their way away from the outer edges of that and move kind of more centralized. It's a little bit over ruins, kind of to the left as the center of the mountain's going to be in. Georgia Pole is going to be kind of 90% in. Pochinki's still available. Rozhawk's still available. And Gatco, where a lot of these players have been sitting around, is still completely open.
Yeah, this is pushing the players into some heavily dense areas where they're going to be able to move, loot, and potentially take out some of the other teams as they navigate through the circle. We got a high flying Dacia here coming into the area where two players are upstairs. They probably know that someone's up there. As you can see, the all-terrain vehicle there is outside. That's a pretty good sign that there's some players in the area. They're going to be very cautious going in, but he is making his way in with his teammates just down the road there. It actually looks like trying to get an angle. And here we go.
Rick's not going to be able to get one knockout there. His teammate did go down. He's sitting at about half health, waiting for the other player. Hears him on the ground. Is going to go out, peeks him, gets the shots off he needs, but not the kill. And he's going to get taken out by Wei Pon Pon, the same person who killed off his teammate. They're going to be able to live to see another day. And Wei Pon Pon was able to find a nice shot through the window upstairs, down on through the car into the driver's seat, to be able to take out their teammates there. And they're going to use some healing, but they're going to be able to come out of this one alive and continue moving forward.
Yeah, that was a clutch save of the teammate there. As you can see, a lot of teams very static right now, holding up in their safe areas, while we even have some that are still outside of the white and will need to start to make their way in. Some action here. Deserted taking some shots and finally kills Bester there. And we are down to 71 alive.
Yeah, him and his teammate, one of the ones you mentioned outside the white zone, but they just now got some loot off of these fresh kills, and they have the ability to get in. They're not too far away, so they don't have to worry too much about that, and they still have a little bit of time before that blue is going to start dealing damage to them. And honestly, we've seen it before, and we'll see it again. Once it comes into it, a lot of these players don't really mind taking that damage. It's going to be hurting a little bit more now than it was earlier on, but to get a better position to maybe move into a different part of the circle, this is the time to do it while the circle isn't going to insta-kill you. The later this goes, the more it's going to hurt. And as it stands right now, you have a little bit more time to loot outside there before those zones are completely off mark.
A couple of other players here sitting pretty in the top of a house. We saw some players riding that blue wave in. Still 71 alive, as mentioned before, and I think it's worth saying probably all night tonight, is that we're most likely going to see a slow, cautious game, at least in these qualifiers this week. We know that these teams want to make it in to the ladder matches with the rest of the 5 weeks. And so making your way towards that top 10 is really the goal for these players right now. They are, a few of them going at it, going for it, and dropping here and there. But for the most part, the team's staying safe, staying nice and tight together. You don't see too many teammates splitting up very far from each other. And usually in this situation, when they do, it doesn't work out for them because the other two enemy teammates are close together and ready for action.
Ryum going to be finding a double kill there. It seems finally able to killing off Childish Cambino and his teammate, catching them. We saw them be semi-successful earlier on, finally finding some kills, but taken out already at this point. And now we're left with 68 alive. Another crate fallen down, going to be spawning here. And when it comes down to it, that one's looking to be under contention here from BinQ5, just looking to kind of hold that angle and keep it in his sights. But with other teams, and this is the case with all of these crates, someone else is going to see it. You will not be the only one. So you have to be cautious going up to it. Some players like to use it as bait. Some people like to run up, grab it, get out. And others, they will go up and never leave that spot again.
Yeah, I like this position of the crate drop because while they have a nice jump on that crate, there's going to be players that are coming out of the blue and making their way into the white. It sort of sandwiches that crate right in the middle and potentially creates a hostile environment there. If they do push this, though, I think they'll be in pretty good shape to pick that up. The players that are outside and making their way, or at least should be making their way into the white, looks like they might be accepting their fate and just going for the kills now, as you don't really see them hustling in this direction to get in the safe zone. Ruins in the middle of the map. Here we're on circle, believe number 3 and 68 alive.
Now we're going to be seeing BenQ go for the crate, looking to get whatever he can. I'm looking up there, Deserted, looking to get into an altercation with another team. We're going to be seeing FT Zago looking to be up against him. Both teams kind of acknowledging each other's presence. Deserted having just come in from the blue, having to heal up. Him and his teammate both already having to get rid of some of those heals and being forced almost immediately to use another set of those just because we hear Zago here holding that angle, keeping that shot online, making sure that whenever Deserted pokes, he is going to be ready to pop his head off as fast as possible. And honestly, even wasting away the meds, this is going to allow him to reposition right here as we see. And again, just holding that angle, the shots come out, he's going to get the knockdown, and his teammate for Deserted a little bit too far behind him. Not sure if he's going to be able to move up in time just because the distance between the two of them. It should be an easy pickup for the kills. Deserted is going to get taken out. And now we have the option of playing. Do you want to continue fight? Do you want to avenge your teammate? Or do you fall back and hope for more?
Yeah, that was definitely a nice pickup. 65 alive. And Patrickin is what I'm going to call this player, is making their way in at about half health, is going to be riding on the edge here. 30 seconds, the blue will be making its way in. Plenty of time for this player to make their way to the white if they do not get caught up with any other players. Then again, maybe not. It's a good hustle from there. We do see a lot of players outside of the circle for this point in the match.
Yeah, a lot of them were patiently waiting and just kind of standing around wherever they were able to, waiting for the circle to kind of force them to move. And a lot of those players that were in Gatka are now being forced to fall into a much smaller circle, a much smaller safe zone. And as we have mentioned before, especially since the number is starting to dwindle, what matters here is placing in the top 17 for this first match. Being up in that point is going to be what is going to allow you to go forward, as we're actually going to see Singox go ahead, find a kill, loot up. He has a car right there, should be able to go in, even though he's taking some damage from that blue. But you make it in the top 17 teams, you will make it through these qualifiers for the first match. And that is going to be what people are aiming to do here. So that's kind of why we get to see, like Pat just abandon Deserted's body, not go for the avenge kills, just because at this point, living on longer is going to be worth more to them as a team than trying to get those kills. Overall, some points maybe later on in the system that might matter next week. But as it is for this week, your placement's going to be the primary thing they're looking for.
Absolutely. And I actually expected to see more players at this point in the game, less deaths early on, and some more cautious play, maybe some boat play, these kind of things that sometimes are frowned upon by the hardcore. But, in this case, like you said, top 17 is where you want to be, and you have to play that game that's going to get you as far as possible. And the goal tonight is to get into the ladders, and that's what these players are working on right now. 59 alive, the blue pushing in, a couple players down, and you see VZ here trying to get an eyeball and trying to get a kill.
Now, him and his teammate did get a knock, and they know players are still outside the circle. They're sitting safe right inside there, so they're keeping their eyes on where they last saw them. Another crate has landed just outside the new circle. A few teams going to be luckily inside there for them, as it looks like we see VZ taking some shots down on a teammate. I almost guaranteed he was going to jump out and try to heal there right next to the other team, but ultimately it seems like they're not going to be able to find that kill. Looking again here for Kasher and what looks like whatever his teammate could be doing. Trying to heal up. They're still outside the circle, taking a lot of damage. Now they're going to be taking some fire. The shots are going to be good so far from VZ. We see dropping down in prone. There's only a few times that's going to be good for you, and that is one of them. But the knockout coming down from Odin Thor on the side is going to be able to get the teammate here. And now it's going to be up to Kasher to try and run away. But again, the shots are going to be good. VZ just trying to find whatever he can, and he's going to find that last hit. They're outside the circle, taking too much damage. They're not going to make it in, and they're going to get eliminated for the night. Or the game.
That was very unlucky. I was thinking we might have a clutch heal there, get his teammate up. Got some more action here. Gore, what's going on?
Well, it's looking like we're seeing, first off, a lot of people finally getting wiped out. KB's going to be reviving his teammate as they just wiped out one more team. And this is going to be where we kind of see this come through. A lot of these teams leaving Pochinki and some of the other neighboring towns are now in a position where they have to push forward. They have to run up to this northwestern part of the circle. And we still see a couple of players outside the circle right now trying to reposition, using a lot of heals at this point in the game just to try and get a better position coming in. I mean, I'm looking at Jorkzy over there. They're driving what looks like towards the hospital around the mountain. There are quite a few players waiting up on top of the mountain as well. So honestly, they may or may not be driving to their doom at this point in the game.
Yeah, I for one appreciate a really good flank, but at this point you need to start thinking, are some of these players overthinking their approach to the circle? We just mentioned that everybody's going to be very cautious. They do want to get into this ladder and qualify. So, that's part of it, but maybe overthinking the move into the circle as well.
And we're going to see some shots come down. We're going to get to see Flexi HD knocked out on the ground, a Mini 14 and a Scar L, but the shots coming out. Small's going to get taken down by Odenthor from a completely different direction, and that's going to be a separate team now shooting at them, rushing in together. We're seeing Flexi's teammate rush in as fast as he can. Flexi's still on the ground, but it's going to be up to potentially what we're going to see out of Odenthor and his teammate trying to get whatever kills they might be able to just on the edge of the circle. But a lot of people still trying to find their way in, and these are long-range kills. Odenthor not really feeling that danger just because he's silenced. He's on the edge. He's got a nice mountain between them, and at this point, no one can really guess where he is.
Yeah, that's tough. He's picking a lot of players coming up through the circle, and I feel like I'm almost eating my words here because I was talking about overthinking the cautious approach to the circle, but as you can see, if you don't pick the perfect route to come back into the circle, you're prey for a player like this. It's going to take shots from a million miles away and make you regret even trying to get into the white zone.
A couple of players looking to die outside of the play zone there. Actually, quite a few players getting knocked out there from the play zone just from the damage there, now down to 38. And a lot of people might be thinking this is a lot left alive for 38, but when it comes down to it, people are going to be playing safe. We've mentioned it a few times. We'll probably hear it several times throughout the night as they're just trying to keep things as safe as possible. They want to make it towards the top because the placement for this week is going to be what matters most. Next week and the weeks following are more than likely going to be the ones where we see players going as ham as possible because kills are going to be worth a little bit more to them overall. So getting those kills might be able to make up for placing a little bit lower. Odenthor still going for these nice long-range shots. The 4X and the silencer combo doing him well, and he's going to get another kill knocked onto his belt. 30 left alive as he is still just eliminating step by step.
Yeah, Odenthor, a member of a team called Legion, and they want you to know via their Twitter page that they're looking for an organization to pick them up. And this might be the night where they show off their skills and get someone to, I was going to say call them, but probably it's a DM these days.
Yeah, at this point, it's much easier. I mean, half of the job I have now was decided through a DM when it comes down to it. And it's going to be interesting. So one more time, I feel like this is worth mentioning while we have a little bit of a lull. We have on the line here, in the grand scheme of things, we're going to have some nice monitors. This entire thing's going to be powered by ViewSonic and Cooler Master, as we're seeing Insolenso here get a few shots from up on this high vantage point. He has the high ground. He's taking advantage of every step of the way. And they're going to be able to get some kills. VZ, I believe, killed off the teammate of who Insolenso just ended up knocking down. And that's going to allow him to kind of stay alive up here, stay a little bit more safe, not having to fire those extra shots. And he's going to have the vantage point from the mountain. But the circle's pushing his back, and it looks like he might be just a little bit too slow to get in here, and a lot of teams are around him. So at this point, if they turn around, they look in the blue, he's going to be the first to fall.
19 alive, which means that 17 of these -2 are going to qualify for the ladder. So this is where things get really exciting if these players are paying attention to the kill counter. And we're at 16. So all these players here now, these teams that are left in the game, will be potentially in the qualifiers unless we have a single here and there. But, you do the math at home. We're casting the game here. We got teams spread out now trying to find some cover in the trees. There's not a lot of buildings in this area. We did see a little mountain play, and a mountain in the hands of a good player is always devastating, especially if it's in one of these final circles. And you can see there's a bit higher ground and some houses here, but players not really there, and a couple players going down.
Now, Room and BenQ5 going to be able to pick up those kills from the buildings, feeling a little bit safe, and actually going to be firing some nice shots down onto Zago there. We saw him earlier, but it looks like Room going to have to drop down and heal as best he can. BenQ5 doing whatever he can with this Groza to try and give some covering fire. And you can tell these players have been crate hunting just because one of them, we have a Groza and an MK14 on their back. That is going to be one of the nicest loadouts you could probably be able to pick up in terms of weaponry. As we see the final shots coming out, Room looking for the last hit, and that's all it's going to take. Ben is going to be the one who finds that, and they are up here vying for this spot with Odenthor and VZ, who it seems like they have now spotted and potentially are going to get into a fight with.
Yeah, here we go down to the final 10 and a small circle, a couple players right in the middle of it. Everyone else will need to, at some point, make their way in here and try and be safe and sound. The circle is moving. The blue is moving. Here's Toast Metal, one of our regulars, I believe, from the PUBG League, surviving here into the top 10. And this is where I think for these players, it's going to get really exciting because they know that they've qualified at this point if they're watching that kill feed. And now they can let loose and go for the kills, go for the win, and go for the chicken dinner.
We're going to be seeing Room in BenQ5 here, actually picking up the kills, fragging as best as they can, trying to fight wherever step of the way, and with this 8x scope, it's going to be good for him. A couple of shots to the head is all it's going to take to be able to get that. Didn't Dido knocking out Villan, and Odenthor going to be able to kill this out. 5 members left, Odenthor being able to finally pick up Room there, but BenQ5 is going to chase him down and knock him out. Might avenge his teammate, but VZ's just over the hill and might be able to find some headshots here. They're looking for it. The fire's not going to be good enough. VZ going to drop down onto the ground. Both players in prone, trying to heal as best as they can right now. VZ going to have a small advantage having that heal come off just a little bit earlier, might be able to gain some ground. But Toast Metal hears the firing. He knows someone's shooting over there. He's going to keep his eyes open.
Yeah, I feel like Toast Metal has been in a situation like this before. And on the other side, you could see the marksmanship of those players. This is going to be a good fight here in the final 4 as they start to line each other up. And we've actually seen some great prone dives tonight. A lot of times this don't work out for players, but tonight so far they're showing you how to do it.
As we're seeing Toast Metal just kind of watching over him, he has a nice scope on his gun to try and keep things down. Is using the Mini 14, which at this point people have just deemed this a laser. BenQ5 looking to try and get this one as high as he can for his teammate. Looking for the chicken dinner at this point. Everything's going to be icing on the cake. The teammate revival going forward, but he's not going to be able to find the shots. It's going to be a 2v1v1. He knows where one is, and he might be able to find Toast Metal before the revive goes off, but it's going to be one team to try and hold it all and rule it all, as we have a couple of snipers again with the Groza and the MK14. Things are looking really good for BenQ here.
Yeah, that thing looks so cool, especially with the attachment on the top, as you could see there. He's going to need to heal up. He's actually going to go down to VZ, and we're down to 2 alive.
VZ going to get aggressive right here. AK M16 is his combo. Finds nice shots immediately, 2 right onto Toast Metal, whose teammate did end up getting bled out there. 2v2 or 1v1 here as Toast Metal healing up, looking for the peak, holding the angle. VZ just being as careful as possible. The headshot's going to be coming out, but not finding the hits just yet. Toast Metal playing this one as carefully as possible, making sure to stay as healed up as possible. The circle is getting small, and soon enough, it is going to subtract down. VZ, the one who has to get aggressive here, but he finds the shots he needs right on his head. 9 kills for VZ, 8 kills for his teammate Odenthor, and they're going to be sitting up there high on the kill count as we see Toast Metal making it to second, helping his teammate BenQ, Ryum, obviously playing very well as well, and a couple other players who made it as far as they could. But we see that top 10 getting knocked down, and VZ and Odenthor taking the first game of the night.
Yeah, you can see those top 3 teams all with significant kills. The lowest amount, that second place team has 7 kills together. But then you look 4 through 10, and you can see the difference in the teams there and how maybe some of these teams were playing it very, very cautious in the beginning, and then just the rest of these guys as they get into this top 10 situation, letting loose, going for the kills and racking them up towards the end there. Very nicely done. As you mentioned, 9 and 8 at the top there. Well played. GG, and the victory to VZ and Odenthor.
And one of the things that I think we see out of this number 1 play is the fact that, you know, it's not always the end of the world to get aggressive. We thought a lot of players were going to be playing this as safe as possible, but we get to see right there that sometimes aggression can still win it out for you. But with that one, we're going to be done with game number 1. We're going to go to a short break with a little bit of commercials in between as we get the second game set up, and we will be seeing you in the second set of qualifiers here in just a little bit.
Die Winkel ändern sich im Leben im Dreieck die ganze Zeit. Dafür gibt es eine Ecke für die Begeisterung, eine Ecke für die Disziplin und eine Ecke für Pragmatismus. Pragmatismus bedeutet, man muss sich beugen können. Wenn man sich nicht beugt, da kann man die anderen Menschen nicht anerkennen und auch nicht verstehen. Das ist alle eine Sache der Osmose. Wir sind nicht allein.
And we are here in game number 2 here of Dropzone. And we are looking to get some more teams ready to qualify. We see a nice spawn over the military base and the southern island. And we are powered here tonight by ViewSonic and Cooler Master. A lot of gear and monitors on the line. And these teams are looking to try and make their way into the full tournament for next week through this qualifying match tonight.
That is quite the plane, Gore, as it's coming in from the very southeast and heading up to the northwest. A nice thin slice across the military base and the western portion of the map. It is going to allow some of the players to hit the Pachinkis of the world in the middle parts of the map. But for the most part, these players have their pick of the southernmost spot. Some of the players opted to go to the military base. And as you said, Dropzone, I got the song Highway to the Danger Zone stuck in my head as they poured out of this plane. I'm excited for game 2 here. This is the Dropzone tournament. Cooler Master and ViewSonic bringing the prizes, and we are bringing you the cast here, PUBG League and game 2.
Yeah, speaking of which, we, being me, myself, Goremizer, and of course you being Heyday here, coming in again for game number 2. And the thing that catches me off guard, we had such a perfect Novo military base start. And there is virtually no one in Novo or military base. It is completely devoid on the southern island. We knew that we were going to see some safer play, but this is going honestly even further than I thought it was going to be. That is such good loot. Anyone who comes out of that island alive is going to be happy. They're also going to be hurting. that circle is like the opposite side of the plane, going to be up in the northeastern side. So a lot of players are going to get caught out. A few players going to be safe trying to get up there. It looks like they're driving possibly towards Lipovka or Yasnaya Polyana there, just trying to get whatever loot they can. A couple still in their parachute trying to stretch to Severny. But all these players on the left-hand side of the map and those on the southern aisle all have to move.
Yeah, that was quite the dice roll by those players. You saw the majority of them push up north, even though they had those looting possibilities down south, military base, as you mentioned. They opted to go to the Rozhawks, the Pachenkis, and Yasnaya there in the middle of the map, and it did pay off for them. So every now and then you're going to roll the dice in Battlegrounds, and it's going to pay off for you. Those that went down to the military base and in the southwest are going to have to work their way back into the circle. You see players starting to loot up here. This is prime pickings. But what this did, though, was force a lot of players on top of each other in the middle of the map. You see a couple driving in there, and we could see some early action, potentially some players letting loose here as we had our first qualifier, game 1. This is game 2 qualifier, working to play in that ladder. As you mentioned, Gore, we might see some more conservative play here as they do try and qualify. But hopefully, for those of you watching at home and for us here in the booth, we're going to see some action early on. First person is quite the exciting game to watch,
especially because of the limited vision that you can see. And we get a good example of it right here. You know there's a player nearby. You hear their footsteps. You can, might spot them out of the corner of your eye, or you could entirely miss them just because you weren't looking at the right spot at the right time. And as we can see here on this island right here near the bridge, it looks like one player is getting hunted down, Samtino and his teammate looking for STG Geno. And Smithy down there in the bottom left, you might see his name picking up a kill, and that's going to be one of the players to look at. We saw last game that you can, in fact, see a lot of action in this match. You can have 9 kills, 8 kills, and we're going to see some players get aggressive. I expect to see his name be up there, and it looks like Sam and his teammate are looking to be a team kind of emulating that as well as they look for those last few shots, trying to find the kill here. They know where one player is, but they have no clue where his teammate is, so they're having to keep track of every direction.
Yeah, Smithy, the winner of the PUBG League gameplay that we had the fortunate ability to cast and watch his gameplay. High kill wins there. And as you mentioned, he is one to watch out for that exciting gameplay. And I'm looking now for Smithy's teammate. I was always thinking, based on those finishes that we got to see, that maybe he and Lush would team up and get the dream team going here for this duos play. But I'm going to look that up and see who he's teamed up with and see what kind of regulars we have in these matches from the Solos League and how they've adapted to not just duos play, but first-person duos play.
Because right now we're just seeing a couple of shots coming out from these buildings, and they're going to be able to find one knocked down with that 4X and an assault rifle. That's going to be an easy, clean pickup. Wasabi, another name that I do recognize from the tournaments we've been running here on the Tier Monster Twitch and through PUBGLeague.gg. So make sure, again, if you ever want to participate in a forthcoming tournament, go check that out. Make sure to join the Discord. Stay connected. Be wherever you need to be in order to hear what you want to hear and to be able to get into these tournaments and get some nice gear like we will be having for these players that do qualify tonight. As we've said before, and we'll mention again, ViewSonic, Cooler Master, we're going to be having some monitors and some gear dropped from them for the players that can manage to take it to the top. And in the future, we're going to be seeing a lot more from this one. This one is going to be another match where the top 17 are going to qualify, which does kind of warrant some players to want to play a little bit safer, try to outlive, but you will see these players who will find the shots and find the kills they need, being the ones who can make it as far as they need to. And I expect to see some of those top kill players going to be making it into those top 10, no problem.
Yeah, Smithy, you mentioned he took away a very nice mouse from the league play. Might as well add a monitor to that as well. He's going for the full PC
build.
Master. Yeah, the full build, full PC Master Race setup at home. And I just looked it up. The team name is Smithy and Stab. And sure enough, it's a player called Stab with Smithy. And no knives, maybe a machete to pick up, but Not real stabby in this game, but I definitely am looking forward to seeing what Smithy is bringing along with him as far as a teammate into this game. You can see a lot of players outside of the circle with a lot of ground to make up. 90 alive.
This is always one of the more interesting things. We've seen players, one that I always comes to mind, Machine Gunner. We used to kind of laugh at it, but he was a very adept player, and he got 8th in one of those solo tournaments, staying outside of the circle. And I feel like that's very prevalent here. Even though he's not in the game, we might see some of that play. If you find enough heals, if you have enough going for it, that first circle doesn't really do enough damage that you have to be scared of it. You can potentially continue looting up, try to get the best weapons you can, the best attachments for those weapons as well, and move forward with it. And a lot of players have been opting into kind of the staple builds that we've seen: an assault rifle sniper, assault rifle SMG. But we do see some of these where we see, the Mini 14, which is technically a sniper, but when it comes down to it, a lot of people treat it the same way they treat the SKS. It's a sniper in all sense except its use. A lot of people will still use it as kind of like an assault rifle close range weapon.
And regardless of how you feel about fringe players in Battlegrounds, the difference can be huge when you're outside of these first few white circles and making your way inside and taking a cautious route and picking up that loot along the way. It can be the difference between facing off against 80 other players versus 40 other players. You let some of these very ambitious, trigger-happy players to take care of each other first. Then you find yourself in a nice, tight little circle with about 30 or 40 other players. It makes for a more digestible end game, I think, for some of these players. So we will potentially see some lower kill counts in some of these games. But if, the last game was any example of what can happen, though, with kills in a game like this, a cautious start, but a very strong end there.
I have to laugh a little bit because I just noticed that Oddcat's teammate is named Cat Odd.
Love it.
That's just, that's friendship right there. That's when you
Yes.
come into this and you know that they play together all the time, just when it comes down to it, because it's just like, hey, not only do we have a chance to get some nice gear if we qualify, but we're just going to play some more first-person duos. We do this anyway. Why not go ahead and play a match that might get you into the qualifiers? And as it stands right now, they're looking to potentially just kind of hold on to the building there in Pachinki, which is probably one of the roughest cities to land in. It has just such a notorious, because it's in the center of the map, it's one of the best places to land in terms of circle spawns. And it's just fun if you want that action. School's been really hot lately, but Pochinki is always a great place to go. If you're trying to learn the game fast, that's the place to land. Grab a gun and just shoot as best as you can, as it looks like some players still trying to find their way into the circle. Vehicles galore going to be the ones. I still see one down there looting up the military base. Mosho all by his lonesome, looking for all of the loot that he could possibly get. And at this point, I can't believe if he is not geared out. I see a 4X, I see a nice silencer on that rifle, and he has a car in his inventory as well, which I'm going to assume probably has an 8X, either a compensator and a sniper, and definitely a cheek pad at this point, because he's had that place to himself for a while.
Yeah, I imagine him down there listening to like the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack and just kind of cruising along and picking up loot. Has his own little world down there, but does need to make his way into the circle. As you see some potential action here on this hilltop with these other ruins here. In the games I play, and this doesn't get a lot of action, but when it does, it can be a pretty nasty area to fight in. See a couple teams hunkering down there, spods crawling on the ground. You need to get every advantage you can in this first-person play, since you don't have the vision that you do in third-person perspective. So you're going to see a lot more, I think, prone action, a lot less random peaks, and players trying to get a more advantageous jump on the other players in the game.
Looks like Pods and Big Boy Braden both are kind of stuck with close range weapons right now. I see a micro Uzi and a shotgun coming out, but Chronix going to be finding the shot onto Pods, knocking him immediately, and now going to be looking to get a little bit aggressive. Him and Miguel both moving up as fast as they can to try and find Big Boy Braden, who does have a shotgun, could potentially turn this around if they get too aggressive, if they get too close. The shot's going to be coming out, but they're going to be good from Miguel there, and that's going to be a very clean pickup. 2 kills for the team, and they're not going to be worried about it. Now they are kings of that hill.
Yeah, that was great. That was a beautiful spread a great flank, and all their attention was on his teammate, Miguel, as Chronix got a great spot up on the rocks there, and they played right into their hand there. That was a really nice takedown. That's the team next level. And I did see Lush's name in the lineup, so he's not teamed up with Smithy, but he will be potentially playing here, another one of our high kill top 3 finishers from PUBG League here in the registration as well. We do have some teams going at it here in the safety of the white. Bernopoly taking some shots from the window there. It looks like Geo123 knocked out Kazuku. And there's some early action here, but we're still left with 83 in the match.
As we get to kind of see it, I saw his name, Geo123. We can always get Kappa123s if anyone wants to spam the chat right now. But as it stands right now, a lot of sniper action coming through. And with, again, the addition of the Mini 14, people have been calling it a laser. It's got virtually no drop for some players. Like over a certain distance, obviously, there's still going to be drop, but it does go very far, very fast. Same of what you're going to see maybe out of some of the other snipers here, as we actually see Geo with the Kar 98 taking some shots around, but taking a lot of hits. With the safety of that rock, he's going to be able to stay alive. But Connor Poe, he's going to be the one who is kind of out left to dry here by his teammate. Not a lot of cover. The most he can do is give some covering fire, and it's doing very well. Something that we normally would see in that kind of situation potentially could be trying to just go for the car, blow up, get the detonate there. But it looks like, again, Geo and his teammates stuck between a rock and a hard place, team below them, team behind them, and they don't have a lot of places to run.
Yeah, that's tough. Normally when you see a team with the high ground there, they should have the advantage. But as you know, when you're up on that hill and you don't have any cover, you're sticking out on the horizon line, and teams can see you pretty well. These guys have a great vantage point from that 3-story building there and a rooftop. And on the other side down the hill, the team actually had some cover to work with. Connor Pro being picked up by Geo. They do get the res off. Nobody pushing right now, just sort of playing it safe and taking their shots from range. Kinetics here with an eyeball out from the mushroom tower and looking to see if he can pick anybody off. He's going to jump out now and make a move.
He's going to be rushing forward, him and his teammate looking for the kills. Geo is still very low, but I think the distance is going to be what's kind of winning them this match right now. They're far enough away. Kinetics does not want to kind of get too aggressive. They're in a safe spot. They're in the circle. They have a nice tower to themselves. They don't really have much of a reason to go away. They can pick off people, try to pick up some kills as they cross the bridge up to the northern side of the island. They really don't need to get aggressive where they won't, and it looks like that's going to be kind of the play that they have in mind. Again, they're trying to make it to the top, and with 81 still alive, they do not want to risk anything yet.
Yeah, this is what I love about Battlegrounds is you see these two teams facing off from long range, and out of nowhere, a little convoy of another team comes through, and you can see these guys, they're just itching to take some shots and get some long range kills, but they don't want to give their position away necessarily or get pinched themselves between the team that they were fighting already and these players in the cars if they decided to turn around. They're heading in towards Rozhok there and trying to get a solid place to defend from, get some more loot. You could see a lot of players now are in the safety of the white, only a few on the outskirts of the blue. And we have 80 left alive here, 81 rather, in this smaller and smaller circle. So it's going to start to heat up here as you see some of these hot spots that we're used to calling the school, the apartments, Rozhok, and the ruins there. Or I guess the ruins will be out of it here in a moment, but you get the idea. There's some real dangerous spots that all these players are getting forced into right now. And this is going to, I think, give us some very exciting mid to end game here.
Looks like we're going to be seeing just kind of a view odd cat and cat odd kind of sitting over here. Some players we were just looking over are going to be kind of running up towards here, and there are even more just kind of hiding in the hills, in the grass, looking to make an assault on the building in the first place. With Cat Odd right now, both of them actually holding out sniper rifles. They could get caught unawares, although footsteps are going to start giving them away, and unless these players properly check their corners when they come through, they're going to get caught out as we go through, and they're using the windows very efficiently. They're going through, making sure they have the vision wherever they might need to. And I feel things going poorly. Every time I do something like this, that's when I get shot up by a shotgun immediately. And so they're kind of sitting in wait, Odd Cat and Cat Odd holding the building. The shot's going to be fired down right down the hill, it seems, through the side. And Odd Cat going to get knocked out. He's going to be the first one going down. Cat Odd has to be the one who saves his teammate. But it seems like we're going to be seeing Kraken just a little bit too scared to push forward. And the same thing going out. Original Indo, though, running around the sides of the building, doing whatever he can to try and gain an angle.
Yeah, that was a great push by them. Cat Odd and Odd Cat definitely have upper hand here. Although Cat Odd's going to take the one player down, and Kraken's going to actually be able to pick him up here. The Cat Odd and Odd Cat, Team Otter, they're going to go down here. 77 left alive.
We see Scurry over there in the background. I see his name, MLGB Scurry, and his teammate. Both of them kind of drove up this direction. We were looking at them over there fighting just previously, but kind of opting away from going for the fight. And honestly, it seems like they chose the right choice because they didn't end up getting in that 3-team brawl, as we get probably a very centralized circle compared to what we have gotten so far out of all of them. And we are seeing, 77 people. I honestly did not think you could fit 77 people into the circle without hearing just constant firefights, but a lot of them are taking damage from the circle. They're trying to be a little bit safe. They're patiently waiting. And even though we knew that this was going to be kind of maybe a slower paced game, getting this close together, it is almost ridiculous to hear how little these teams are fighting.
Yeah, and I love this, though. If you think about it, the beginning of this game is going to be slow. But the slower the game is at the beginning, I think the more potential it has to be crazy at the end, as you hinted at there with packing all these players into such a condensed area. You're going to go from the slow lane to the fast lane in a matter of moments. And as we know, these circles start to just really press in at the end, and you really have to worry about them later on where you don't in the beginning of the game. So that's another aspect of this gameplay that you're going to see here, is that players need to start running in. They need to start running in faster as well. Running in faster is not as cautious as taking your time and checking all your corners, as you alluded to earlier. So this has opportunity for these players to make potentially a wrong move. We're seeing some action here already. Gore, what's going on here in this
Toasty
house?
God jumped down and was able to get some of those nice shots through his ump, nice and silenced, and does manage to fill off, not only makes a butt freshie through the window right there, and will be able to pick up his teammate. Healing up, I guess, being a little bit more cautious. I believe his teammate is still down on the ground outside. Will be able to come in, pick him up. But one of the things that I kind of caught wind of right there was the play coming out from Toasty and his teammate. He jumped out of the balcony while his teammate fired into the wall just to get some shots off, to make it kind of wary. Like, we know someone's around. We're going to make them think that either we have vision on them and they hear these bullets kind of whizzing by, even though we have no clue where they are, and they're going to panic. Take advantage of that. Toasty God going to be able to use his UMP, clean them up, go through the building, and just overall close it out. They get a little bit more loot because of it, but they are still on pretty much the edge of the circle right now, so they're going to have to move in as fast as they can, as it looks like we're going to see some other players starting to collide. Rom's here on a motorcycle, finding shots immediately onto Original Indo. Kraken's, some players we were looking at earlier, going to be taking some damage, and the shots being found perfectly from Rom's right onto the head. Kraken's going to get taken down, and we are left with 67 as the circle is finally closing down.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the player in there, Toasty, in this duo there, he healed himself before he healed his teammate or picked up his teammate, and that's where communication comes in, and that's the key to duos and squad, and the difference between a solo game where you're just out if you're down. Here you have an opportunity to decide what you do in that situation, and if you have your communication on point, your teammate's going to say, hey, I'm good for right now, take care of yourself, just in case anyone heard those shots and they're looking to rush. We're looking at Flurry here, 65 alive. It looks like some players are hurting, and he's going to make the move on them. Gets a view and is going to get... No, not yet. This is some close fights here. Some great peeking from the other team to let Flurry get some shots off. And they're going to go down to the blue, unfortunately, as that presses in.
If Flurry doing his best, holding just the perfect shot every single time they peek. he's hitting them every step of the way. Right now we have one down on the ground too. The blue, his teammate, I believe, trying to revive him, but at this point, it's going to start doing a little bit more damage. You have to get out of there. Even if you're low health, you have to heal up as fast as you possibly can. Fidos, the one who did get knocked down, is going to be the one out of it. And the shots flying down. G-Money not going to be able to make any money this time. Knocked out of the match as number 60. And we are going to see a couple more kills. A Jester playing or dying outside the play zone. A few other players possibly following suit as I see Akuma and Furiosa outside doing their best to get in, being safe. As it stands, the circle moving slowly but surely into what's more going to be open field and forest. These players having to leave the safety of the buildings and return to the open.
Yeah, I am honestly cheering inside for at least 50 of these players to make it into that final circle, so we could potentially see some sort of bloodbath there. We do see a bridge troll there hanging out.
Yeah, you saw that spot, right? Like,
yeah, that was great, and he's getting shots off.
I didn't even know you could get there.
Yeah, no, that's pretty sneaky, pretty nice.
But like you said, the shots are going to get off. I mean, it's perfect. Like, I mean, bridge troll is like the perfect way to describe it. No one's going to look there. No one's going to see you. And you have the perfect vantage point to kind of catch people who are coming down off the hill right there.
Yeah, that's great. You're covered from above. No one can really shoot you from the road. People are either looking on that road, on that bridge, at the top of it, or below for maybe a boat or a swimmer to come through, but not on that little beam there. So we're going to see this cracking off in all sorts of live streams this week, I'm sure, as people want to test this little spot out. Of course, you do have to have that circle in that area for the spot to work. We are down to 54. We're closing in on the circle. It's starting to get hectic for some of these players here. We have 3 players swimming down the river just trying to get somewhere safe. That's a nice little conga line going through there. And we're starting to see some shots taking place here. Long-range shots from Mikao Ho.
That's going to be right into a sniper tower there. A nice silenced Mini 14. Again, one of the guns that's going to be kind of dominating, I believe, this night. Just because, one, it's new. Everyone loves the new gun. Although the shot's being fired right onto him, he's going to have to kind of run forward. He is in a bad position to try and heal just because the circle's closing in. Jay Brewster in the water, as well as a couple other players that you were mentioning who are swimming in the river, all kind of being forced onto the shoreline. And we have 2 players, Smithy and his teammate, going to be watching over this shoreline, no problem. With a nice 8x on top of that M16 and a shotgun, he is ready for pretty much every range that there might possibly need to be. And he's silenced, which is going to keep players from noticing him too much, although the sniper tower is going to be one of the first places I'd feel they're going to look.
Yeah, but that said, it takes a experienced player to really seek out the best possible places. You see Smithy takes out Ploxprat there and Jay Brewster. They both go down, 46 left. They know where to go, they know where to loot, and they know where to search out for the best cover and best camping spot when it comes down to that situation. Although they are going to be forced to move, as is pretty much the entire playing field here as the circle shifts dramatically to the southeast. We do have a crate there, though, as well, which is exciting because I want to see if anybody tries to go for that right in the middle of the circle. And there's a good amount of players around it, as well as you can see here in the fields. Very dramatic, lots of smoke being thrown out, and a couple players just trying to make their way inside the circle, but they're being pinned down by another team.
Yeah, we see a lot of players actually getting caught outside. We see a couple getting eliminated outside the play zone, died finally to the play zone, just the damage being done. They weren't able to get in time. And because of that, they're going to get taken down. And that crate still sitting pretty, looking like it's going to be covered from a couple angles, though, which I think is the big thing. But like, it is in the middle of a field right there in this new circle. So as long as someone's able to find it, they might be able to do something. But Monty Python here with a perfect name and perfect shots. Him and his teammate looking to try and take down anyone they can. They're going to find a couple kills with the other player prone on the ground, crawling as best he can to get out of there alive. The shots whizzing over his head. Cannot be feeling safe right now.
33 left, a very small circle, and players are starting to use their meds, their energy drinks to try and get in here safely. Chronic's caught out, goes down. Soyuz or Solus with a kill there as they move in. They're in a nice spot there, sort of on the edge of the white circle. And there's only 3 teams, it looks like, in the white right now. The rest are trying to get in there, struggling in some cases. As you can see here, this team in the Dacia is going to go right next to this prone field team. But it doesn't even look like they're going to take a shot. I think they might just want to be safe right now and try to get in the circle themselves.
And a lot of players in this area especially are going to be finding some trouble as we see a dead zone coming down into this shack. We're going to see Kartoffelsuppe pick up 2 kills right in there, and it seems as almost though they were not teammates when it came down to it, both with the but he was able to find that no problem, and he had some fire being rained down on top from him. There are some players behind him in the field as well. Depending on how he can hold that angle, he might be able to find some more kills out of there. Just a fun fact for anyone who might wonder, his name translates as potato soup, so maybe he's looking to not potato here, find the shots he wants. As H. Wright going to be finding another kill, and onto Prodigy and Monty Python. So it's going to be a big one. And I see Katie Cakes in the game and still alive.
There you go. Katie Cakes, a top 10 finisher in PUBG League and representing here, as you could see her hanging out in a building, waiting for someone to find themselves down the business end of her rifle. And we are down to 19, a very small circle, 54 seconds on that timer before the blue zone comes in. This is a good amount of people in this final circle. It's very small, but I was honestly silently hoping for more and just an all-out bloodbath in the end. But it's hard at this point to stay alive, and these players are doing a great job. As you can see, Zach Spade knocked out Harbinger and finally gets the kill, 18 alive.
Now we're going to see Zach Spade clean up right there. And we do have Ryzen just outside looking for with the 4K on his name as well. Might be able to find some kills, might be able to avenge his teammate. But again, at this point, some of it isn't as much placement. You're in 17 alive. You're not as worried, I feel, as making it farther. Although a lot of these players still trying to go as hard as they can. Stab, I see down in the middle of a field. Dross over here. Hearing players all around him, his teammate looks to be gone. He's going to be able to find some shots, but not the ones he needs to find, and he's going to be taken down right there as these players are getting eliminated and trying their best to get into the new circle. Like you said, bloodbath coming down. We went from 19 to 13 to 12 so fast as KDK is going to knock out Ryzen and get knocked out herself outside the play zone, looking to be left for dead by her teammate. Kartoffelsuppe going to get taken down. Zyphon dies outside the play zone. So does Nick J. We see Juicy getting a couple kills there on the Solus and to Adenis. And now H. Wright going to get targeted out, but Zach Spade is the one who gets taken down by Nop Nop on another part of the map.
Lots of kills ticking in on the left-hand side. Kill feed is on fire right now. 4 left alive, and we're looking at Nop Nop here in the field. Down to the last 4. Gore, what are we even looking at here? Were we looking at teams? We're looking at solo players. What's going on?
Solo, all like 100%. Juice just took out Nop Nop there, and that was going to be one of the biggest questions I had. I could see Nop Nop in close proximity to a couple others. But it's a 1v1v1, a good old-fashioned top 3 scenario. And H. Wright playing this one as carefully as he can. He's in the circle. He doesn't have to get aggressive here, but he still wants to try and get some vision just because, again, you get caught out. You're the one who gets shot at first, and you will be the first one to fall. Usually, he's going to find some nice kills on the halfway hero. 2 left alive. H. Wright has the circle, and Juice has a nice car in front of him, so he might not go notice. It looks like he had a crowbar out there for a second. The AK, both of them with a 4X, both of them being able to recognize the other player has to be somewhere. H. Wright looking to get targeted down. Juice has spotted him, but the circle's about to close. He has about 10 seconds to either get this kill or move, and there's nothing but open field between the two of them.
Yeah, I love what you mentioned there as far as H. Wright did have, but you still need to get vision of the players. It's so crucial, especially in first-person perspective. Here we go. Final 2, both low, taking pop shots at each other. Who do you think has the upper hand? There you go.
I would say H. Wright. He had the hill, he had the circle, and even though he didn't have the initial spot of Juice, once Juice started firing at him, he was able to kind of figure it out. He knew where the play was. He knew exactly what it was and finishes it out. 7 kills on him, 2 on his teammate Zyphon, 4 kills for Juicy there. And Nick J, his teammate, only had 0. Must have gotten either eliminated a little bit earlier on. But as you can see, the kills maybe a little bit lower all across the board here for the top 17. Not quite as high as we got to see last game. the players still managed to close this one out.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're starting to feel a bit more pressure in game 2 if you haven't qualified already, and you get an opportunity to do that here. Maybe playing a little bit more cautious. 7 kills, 2 kills there. Nicely done. And our high kill counter, Smithy, and his boy Stab at 5 and 1 kills, sitting in 11th place. So definitely a different game than the first game all around in the flight path, in the circle approach, in the slow to massively fast finish in the end, but lower kills all around in our top 10.
Yeah, but with that, we will be having one more qualifying match to go through tonight. As it is right now, we don't have all of the teams yet. We only have, I believe, 34, the top 17 from the last 2. So we're still looking for 16 more teams to make it in. They all have one more game to prove themselves here for the drop zone to make it into the main ladder. And as we have mentioned before, we are powered tonight and for the tournament by ViewSonic and Cooler Master. There's a lot on the line for the rest of this. Getting in is the first step. We have 34 teams so far. That's going to be quite a hefty chunk of players, but we still need to finish it out, and we will be doing that in game number 3 as we cut to a short break, a couple of commercials, and we'll be back soon. Welcome back to game number 3 here for the Dropzone qualifiers. We are ready to see the last few teams come in. This time it's the top 16. We already have 34 teams coming in. As you know, 100 players per game. It's 2 times that. We're going to have whatever that is, 70 something, or not quite, 68 players total who are already there. So we're trying to fill in those last 32 spots. And we are going to be pulling them from this game. As you can see, we have slightly less players overall. A perfect spawn for the plane right over the military base. Hopefully that sparks some action in it, because we have seen quite a little bit of a lull, and we can already see quite a few players jumping out there. But before we get too far into that one, before they land, I'll introduce myself as Gormizer, and with me again for this last match is going to be Heyday.
Hello, hello. We are here to cast score, not to do math, so let yourself off the hook here. These players, though, they're here to qualify for this ladder, and this is their final opportunity to do that. And I'd love that split. As you can see, almost 3 splits here as that plane flies over. One big clump down in the military base, one clump down towards the southern part of the island there. So Rozhok and Milta, the farm there, and everybody else going up into those northern spots, splitting, as you can see, across left and right to the hot spots. And this is a really cool plane, as you can see. This gives a lot of opportunities for players to pick out their favorite spot. And one thing I noticed from one of the pro players speaking at the Gamescom Invitational, as he was in the solos tournament and having to play against one of his teammates, they all knew where he was potentially going to land, because he had about 4 or 5 spots that he would pick from and sort of own. And I think if any of these players have that sort of gameplay where they're going to go for 3 or 4 spots and pick one out, they do have an opportunity to do that here, as we have someone potentially hiding in the bush there as some action already in the military base. That player is going to go down. Already 3 players, it looks like, down, and we have 66 left alive. Look at that circle, Gore. What's going on here?
The game just wanted us to be happy. They were like, all right, we understand. They're playing a little bit safer. They're playing a little bit slower. You've had 2 games where that first circle has come in with like 80 plus people still alive in it, and you're coming in this one with a little bit less, so there's not going to be quite as many hotspot actions. Like, let's just go ahead, throw the plane right down the middle, and then spawn the circle in the bottom right hand of the map just to make it as interesting as possible, because now we're going to have to see, a huge chunk of these players are going to have to migrate down there. I estimate at least 30, probably 40 at this point, who are going to have to run down there, because only a few people jumped out for that early kind of jump to go to the Novo or to the military base, and maybe a couple down to Milta, but really a lot of them were looking kind of up here. We're in Severny, and we're watching some of these players who are going to have to make their way down there. So it's going to be a long trip, but boats on the coast and any vehicles that might be on the road, and there's a lot to choose from, should be able to get them there no problem.
Yeah, if you look at the circle like a supervillain, it was the perfect setup, the perfect split down the middle. And you know also, too, that the majority of the people are going to go to the mainland rather than the military base. And so the circle, as it mwahaha's away from the center of the map down into the southeast there, is going to favor those players that jumped early. That's, though, this is a very long and non-violent circle, if you will. And this is going to give these players an opportunity that are so far up north there. We see a couple here, Solution, and it looks like his teammate there making their way in some really dense areas, which could potentially pay off for them with some great loot. We do start to see some teams pushing on each other, as they are going to be fighting over some of this sweet loot in these cities. And this could end with some early kills. And that's not what these players want. This is, again, their last opportunity to qualify for the ladder. And so at this point, I think you want to try and get as much loot as possible early game, but still try and be as safe as possible and try and get in that top 16, as you mentioned.
And I think the game has some places that balance that out relatively well. Places like Yasnaya Polyana, it's a big town. There's enough room for quite a few people, but eventually someone's going to be looking to hunt you down. Someone is going to target you and notice you just a little bit before them. I see a couple of names as we kind of glance over the map. Pizuka was one. Running to the bridge, looks like he is in the water somehow, possibly swimming towards a boat, and just kind of hanging out. He's low health, so he must have been getting shot at a little bit earlier, getting caught out as he tries to run away. A lot of these players are not going to be in the same position, although they will be caught out in their vehicles, as we see Re-Roof, Q, all those Qs, being able to take out a team of himself. And now it's going to be up to them to potentially look for some more kills. The rest of the teams, all in Yasnaya Polyana, looking to potentially collapse on each other. Alloed there might have been able to spot some foot, maybe a head, but so far no shots being fired just yet. Everyone kind of holding their position.
Yeah, everyone's favorite bridge terrorizer, Dark Dreams, not in the match. This would be the ultimate circle, I think, for that player or anyone that wants to take advantage of the bridge and catch people coming from the mainland down into the military base there. And you could see some standoffs here. And this is what worries me, and what we've talked about a little bit in some of the earlier games is, okay, so you have this town. It's a really big town. There's some great loot in there. You will most likely not run into other players, even if there are a few teams in the town, just because, as you said, it's so big. But you also have to remember they have so much ground to cover to get down to the south, and they don't necessarily have a vehicle found yet for it. So while you have to protect yourself, and you may even want to get aggressive and get these kills out of the way to remove them from your path, you still have to worry about getting south as well before time runs out. See, 27 seconds on the blue. It's going to start pushing in, and it looks like Allode. How would you say that, Gore? That one there.
Allode being able to pick up Solution there. Coffee Cake in the building next door. Him and it looks like, I want to say Thick or the C, probably the C when it comes down to it, waiting impatiently. And they were just perfect teamwork. They were able to kind of go out. One gets the down, one confirms the kill. And Coffee Cake was nowhere to be found to help his teammate. While we saw Solution getting a little bit more aggressive, Coffee Cake was over here looting, it looked like. And now with no health, looking to be able to regen, seems like he's used all of his stims. The goal at this point is to stay alive. We mentioned this a couple games ago, and I think it bears mentioning earlier. More players are more likely to kind of play the patience game and maybe try to either wait to pick up those kills or get out alive than they are going to go for the avenge kill that you might see in just kind of a typical first-person duos game, just because getting into the top 16 here really matters to them.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to see a lot more players that are going to tough it out solo. Coffee Cake there on the run, a great name and easily able to cast there. It looks like some players in the ruins. Rozhawk is empty now, and Pachinki getting looted as well. There's a lot of players that are still just so far away from the white zone, really gambling on the next circle, really gambling on who they're going to run into when they're evading that blue line that's coming in right now. But right now, you could see shooting range, Severny, all these little hot spots. They only have one team in each spot. Everyone really has their pick of the loot there outside of the circle, while inside the circle, things are starting to get really tight. You can see there in Milta, a lot of teams sort of starting to converge on each other. And this could get exciting down there in the south.
A lot of teams now forced to travel through the map, some inside, some outside, some inside actually still traveling around, just trying to find a good spot to hold up for the next circle, try to figure out where they're going to wait until they have to move again. Others potentially looking to just try and pick up anyone who has the misfortune of crossing the field they are looking at. With two Dulcias outside, though, I feel like one Kai and his teammate, not exactly the most incognito hiding they've ever done, but they are going to be kind of safe there. Prison just inside, and Shelter as well, going to be pretty decent targets for loot, depending on teams that might want to hit them up on their way in, as we see Base Jeffy there going to be running around. Again, their team just leaving the prison. It looks like they may have been able to grab that one up, but the prison or the Shelter may still be untouched. A nice level 3 helmet on him. Looking to try and keep this one as far as they can push it. With only a level 1 backpack, not as much room for loot as you would want, but still a lot of areas to go for. The circle still closing. No one looking to be really riding that blue except for Lush. I look up. He's over in Georgia Pole. He's taking some damage. He's not too worried. But ultimately, it looks like he is going to be one of the last few players that's going to be making it in, him and Mayo.
Yeah, that's just so much distance to cover. Even if it's not hitting so hard right now, if you have trouble finding a vehicle, that gamble might not pay off. You may be coming in with too little health too late and be prime picking for some of the players with advantageous positions. Speaking of that, we see atop the rock here, a team facing down on a team down below in the house and ready to take some shots on them when they come out of that house. They're in a really good position here and not so far away from where they need to be as some of the rest of the players that are so far up in the northwest.
A lot of these players are in the same position that we've seen a few of them, but I feel like this circle and the spawn has really led itself to be a much more big snipe game. And we're finally going to see some of the boat play you were mentioning, I think in game 1 at this point. Some of these teams, they have nothing better to do. They have, they're in the circle. They're looking for a spot that's going to be safe, but they can still kind of take advantage of where they are. You get players like Pizuka, who looks like he has a small vest, a level 1 helmet, and a crossbow on his back, of all things. Didn't get the loot he wanted, did not have the opportunities he wanted, but still has the ability to try and play this one for the long route, because he's driving out as far edge of the circle as he can get in the water, looking to go behind that one rock and just kind of stay covered as best he can. And a few players looking to try and hold this up in the boat. Maybe we'll get a repeat of what we got a few weeks ago. We might get some pirate action, boat on boat fights, but it looks like a lot of players are going to go for the snipes here, which is looking like the big play. Although I see a couple of cars getting precariously close to the edge of a cliff. They're going to be stopping just in time, but a lot of players kind of opting to try and hide in the rocks more than anything.
Yes, absolutely. And I'd love to see the boat play. I'm always a big fan of the boat play. It's definitely a difference between boat play where you're just trying to kill some time and maybe make your way around the map versus where you're really forced to jump in a boat and get into a safe position. With such a large amount of water, you could see a couple of those teams way out there in the distance. And a little known fact for those of you that don't frequent the boats and just jump right into the most populated and crazy city out there, there is a wall out there that you won't see, but if you hit it going full speed, you're going to take damage. So be careful out there in the ocean. I tell you this from experience. That said, though, there are some great rocks and little mountains out there in the water, that little islands that are going to give you some really good cover. As you can see, it looks like Pizuka there has found one of those. It's going to be way out there, way from everyone, safe behind the rock. And if you play your cards right and you get a nice weapon with a long range scope, you could potentially pick some people off from that area out there by switching to one of the other seats in the boat. The circle, though, I can't wait to see what this does towards the end as it gets smaller and smaller and where it heads, because I feel like this circle still has a few more tricks up its sleeve for tonight.
Yeah, and a lot of it so far has been, just dominantly water. One of the things I'd hinted at it earlier, saying, yeah, you could grab a boat, try to stay alive in that, as we're actually going to see a knockout coming through for the car. Looks like Dag going to get taken down, knocked out, and eliminated. His teammate, though, making the hot decision play of the moment, drives straight into the water to keep himself alive. And honestly, there's no reason to not do it. He dumps the car, he loses his teammate, but he manages to stay alive. He manages to keep himself in the game, which is going to be the big play for him, just trying to stay alive until they can get that top 16, which we have not quite hit just yet. Still 55 alive. And at this point, they're all relocating. Some of them still having to move, continue moving south, still outside the circle. Lush is over there in Primorsk. I'm not sure what's going on over there, whether they've given up, if they're healing, what is going on. It looks like they have bandages. They're trying their best. They have some heals popped and ticking. Umayo is in a car and slowly coming over. No, he's got his own boat. Lush has his own boat, and they are just trying their best to get across this map as fast as they can. But with the heals that they have, looking like it might be a little bit rough for the duo.
Yeah, and they could even, if they're able to heal through this, pull up on the south side of the military base, which would be a pretty crazy approach. Definitely take some people by surprise there. We're seeing some action here on the hilltop. There's a couple players are low. Still 55 left, though, so nobody's gone down yet. But low health all around here in the middle of the map.
Now we're going to be seeing, again, a few players as we just kind of glance around, going to be catching each other out pretty much every step of the way on the edge of the circle as well, taking tick damage. All 4 players right here doing their best to try and stay alive while they're getting shot. Alod and DC taking the shots at Gaxi and his teammate, which both of them not necessarily in the best situations behind rocks or tree to try and defend themselves, whereas Alod and his teammate have a warehouse and some trees to defend themselves. But again, the heals are going to be the big one. The circle has stopped moving, but it's about to start moving again, and they are still ticking down outside of it. It's going to start doing more damage once it finds its home. And if they're still locked in this team fight, both of them are going to end up getting knocked out, and we're going to lose 4 players in one go.
Yeah, we are ticking down to Well, what looks like a very compact, very populated circle as we see a player, Gaxi, getting taken out by the player zone, or by the outside of the play zone, rather. And right now, I think you really need to start focusing on being safe. But so many players are finding themselves with enemies so close. And nice yellow jumpsuit there by the sea. I'd like to see that in play. That's sort of like the animals in the wild that show those bright, vibrant colors to let you know they're dangerous. I like the opportunity to do that here in Battlegrounds as well. Some nice shots from Alod throughout this game so far.
A lot of the players actually using the circle to their advantage there. Allo not having to kill him off completely. Just get him low enough that the circle does the damage for you. They're not high enough to be able to get their own meds off. And now we're going to see a couple other players. The circle, honestly, coming down the way that it did has resulted in more deaths just because a lot of these players are getting caught outside. I mean, I'm looking around. I don't see Lush's name anymore. Oh, nope, never mind. I do very, very, very narrowly at the very bottom of the map right now. It looks like him and Mayo are driving together in the water on the very edge of where is playable, whereas the rest of the players here are going to be stuck, again, still outside the circle, still trying to do whatever they can to get inside and be safe. And a lot of these players have chosen to go out into a boat, have chosen to go out behind these rocks like we mentioned earlier, and are potentially going to get caught out as the circle is still about 50% water as it stands.
Yeah, this is great because this approach that they're taking there, if they manage to pull it off, is going to put them right by those two other teams that are out in the water there. And either one could get the jump on the other because of that, the boat coming in or those just chilling out there. And speaking of chilling, there's a lot of people in the water. I don't think I've ever seen this many people in the water in such a compact area, such a dense area. Look at that. More than half of the game is out in the water right now, all very close to each other. So we've seen this one time before in a game where we had a bunch of players swimming across, and it was basically the team that got across first sort of had that ground that they could defend, and everyone else had to make the decision if they rushed ashore or not. This is crazy. If you're out there in the water, look at these guys in their boat. They're going fishing right now. This is fish in a barrel.
Yeah, and at this point, with the way the circle moved as well, it went from 50% water to virtually all on land. Players are having to move out away from the places that have been safe for them. They are having to move into what is going to be the land lovers game. Whoever is up there has the advantage to be able to kind of turn around. Kramer going to be the first one to kind of break out of the water and potentially able to turn around and catch some of these other teams as they come out as well. We are now 53 left alive, and I saw some people asking for it, so I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. This is a qualifying match, and you might be wondering, well, what are you qualifying for? You are qualifying for the actual event of Dropzone, the main ladder, where the ladder is going to be, not only is your place going to matter, but kills are going to matter. The aggression that you have could save you some points as you go forward, and that's going to be what these teams are looking for. We are trying to get the top 100 teams. We're going to have 17 from the first, 17 from the second, and 16 from this one, which is the third match of the night. And they're all going to compete against each other as best as they can to try and get some nice products from ViewSonic and Cooler Master. There's going to be a monitor among all of that as well. So a lot is going to be on the line. They're going to be looking for that, I believe, 6 weeks of competition to try and just prove themselves to be the best that we have. And as of right now, they are just trying to stay alive. Kills are nice, but they are just kind of icing on the cake. The main goal is to stay alive, and with the circle getting smaller and smaller, a lot of this is going to come down to who spots who first and who can hit the shots. We have seen some players throw out the bullets that they need, but completely whiff whatever they were aiming at and not be able to find the kill. And on the other side, we've seen some players just get completely caught unawares. So whatever comes down to it, we're going to be stuck in an interesting position, as now a lot of them being forced out of the water onto the land. And the buildings in Novo might reign supreme here, depending on where the circle goes.
Yeah, I haven't seen a circle in this area in a very long time. And this is going to potentially put some players in a position where they aren't necessarily used to finding themselves having to flee into the military base and Novo here to try and last into that top 16 players. Still so many players in the water trying to make their way onto the land, and at the moment the players on the land definitely have the upper hand. You can see them start to going into some of the buildings to get some advantageous positions in places where they can have vision over the area. You can see these guys have vision here up on that rooftop, but they decide to not take the shots. And I think you might see more of that when you're watching some of these players stream on Twitch that are getting, they're going for 20 or 30 kill games, if that's possible for them. They're taking shots at everything, but these guys are being more cautious. They don't want to give their position away. But right now, the other team coming in with a whole lot of grenades, and this is going to be an exciting fight here as the team below is trying to push up.
Alod and DC were actually in a very similar fight in Yosnaya before when they took out Solutions and were trying to fight Coffee Cakes as well. They were the ones on top of the building, though, and they came out on top with all these grenades being thrown. They're just looking for the last few kills. They don't really want to rush up because, again, the game does tend to give the defender an advantage on that. And they know better than to try and whiff those shots, especially if they come up with what they had. I believe I saw a Vector. You have about 13, maybe 25. You have the extended mag to be able to get the kills. And Toilet Killer here is sitting in a very good spot. Those bars can deflect bullets, so he can keep him safe. At the same time, it might end up hurting him just because of it. And the circle moving the players away from Novo here is going to force a lot of these people who were in buildings to come out, as it looks like a couple players are getting down right here, right now. I see Chungus with a, what I believe is a plus sign on top of his name. Looks like Alod is trying to do his best to break into the building. And the team is not going to be hurt by that too much, just because they are going to be able to get the revive off the walls, kind of keeping them safe. VC doing the best he can from the side, trying to get the shots anytime anyone pokes their head off. And honestly, this is probably one of the closest actions that we have.
Yeah, this is insane. You can see the players moving into the circle, but just about 3 teams only in the safe zone at the moment. The rest of the teams, I think, not just trying to stay safe, but also trying to loot up the remainder of these areas here as they make their way up the hill and into the safe zone.
Coming through the crates, coming through Novo, coming up onto the hill. This is actually going to turn into a King of the Hill match just because of where the last circle has gone. Players going to get caught out. I see Alod kill Toilet Killer there, over there, when just inside the circle, so they're going to have a little bit of an advantage with that. But the way that it is going to be going, we see Arcticus taking shots, Voodoo going to be stuck out here, doing his best to get in, and this is kind of what we were looking at earlier. The players who got on land a little bit earlier and faster are going to be the ones who are able to kind of pick off the people who are coming in, but they have 8 seconds now to move across the town and stay safe. This circle is going to be chunking a ton of damage, and so if they do not get moving as fast as they can and they do not get out of here soon, we might be seeing a couple more deaths to the play zone.
Yeah, 41 left alive. Blue coming in. It's moving in now. And the crates are a hot spot for moving in and out, taking cover. And you can see Jamesy Boy here not landing the shots, and has the enemy team there moving along in safety. It finally does land a shot there, though. And so Arcticus is low. Here comes the blue. This is going to hurt terribly for those players low on health that are making their way in now. You might find himself dying into that blue zone.
All right, now Arcticus looking to try and get the heal off. He's going for it. He's got the painkillers. He's trying to pop them, but he gets knocked out just before they can go off. Not going to get those heal, and he does have his teammate Wes is here to try and pick him up and do whatever they can. There is looking like a crate just inside the circle here. Weedy and his teammate may be able to go for that, but again, it could be bait when it comes down to it. A couple players all getting knocked out and killed. Jamesy Boy among them. Shulk getting a couple of those kills. And we see G-Thang getting knocked outside the circle. I believe him and Wes both going up and down, doing their best to try and get through Novo, but it's just not looking good for the players who are stuck outside.
So you may be asking yourself, what are these players playing for? Or we've got a first place prize, second place prize, and a third place prize. First place, 2 times ViewSonic XG2530, 244 hertz gaming monitors, 1 apiece for those duos players that end up in first place. Second place is 2 times Cooler Master Master Keys Pro S keyboards. And for third place, you're still going home with some goodies. 2 times Cooler Master Master Mouse MM520 mice. These guys are going to be rigged out by the time they get finished with these PUBG League Dropzone ladder matches. And we're down to 26. 10 more go, and we will find out who will our 16 remaining qualifiers will be.
Yeah, with this, the way things are going, Lush is very low. I saw his name, Sevo, also taking some fire there, as it looks like they're, again, doing their best to stay alive on the edge of the circle. But when you're on the very edge of this circle and you have 30 seconds to get across with what looks like virtually no heals for Lush because of how much time he spent outside of the circle, you're going to get caught out. You have to make it to the other side of the map as it stands right now. Or not the other side of the map, but the other side of the mountain, which is going to be the hard part for a lot of these players. A lot of this is around the base of the mountain on up to the top where the radio tower would be. Weedy over here kind of taking advantage of his position, going to be able to get one knockout, one kill, and looking to potentially expand this even more as he needs to revive his teammate Habba Dabba. Just the one player I remember whose name I saw and I said I never wanted to have to cast it out, but he is there. Hababada is actually the way that it is spelled. But when it comes down to it, he's knocked out. He's outside the circle. Weedy going down, ticking as slow as possible. The circle's closed up. Some players up on top of the hill here. Goric and his teammate looking like they could potentially push this one for a victory. Shulk, who has been able to pick up some kills, kind of coming up towards them. Alien CS has his sights on Shulk, but doesn't look like they're going to take that fire just yet. Again, they want to stay alive as long as they can.
Yeah, they are going to get pinched here by the circle in a moment. And I don't think they're going to be able to crawl up that hill. Maybe they will. Looks like some rocks might keep them down. That's a tough spot to be in there because sometimes you will find yourself having to make your way back into the blue to get around to the safe spot. He does get the kill there, though, on Hell Pander. And so this is going to be an opportunity for him to get a heal on and maybe move around into a safer spot. Just thinking of the path that this circle took after that very vertical flight path is just insane to think this is where it ended up after all that travel around the map. So much water, and now we're on this very precarious hillside, which is going to be very hard for these players down at the bottom to make their way up.
It's also going to be very hard for players like Thug Waffle. The only way that he has out of the spot he has now without going into the circle is to slide down the hill. It looks like that's going to be his choice, but he knocks himself out doing so. His teammate must still be alive. They know they have to move. They knew they had to get down, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get out of this. It actually looks like he jumped down outside of the circle, though, so he's going to be actually ticking down even more. And that might have just been a suicide that we saw there. 14 left alive as he gets taken down. 13 left as it stands. A lot of these teams trying to find their own home here. The circle has spawned and it's on the side of the hill, but the C with a nice snipes looking to try and fire out wherever he can, just looking for the hits as we see one trying to get cleaned up by Allode, I can assume, who is going to be able to knock out one. DC not finding the snipes he needs, but now with Allode's attention turned on to him, it looks like Zavern here is going to be taking some damage, but the blue is closing, and that might be what could spell it. DC having to run as fast as they can, switches to the UMP to try and get a little bit more mobility than you would be able to if you were running with a sniper. But Allode is low. He grabbed the UAZ. He's going to drive as fast as he can. But a lot of players have been sniped out of these seats, and they need to get in the circle as fast as possible. He jumped out too fast, and he hits himself and knocks himself out. And now he is sitting just outside the circle. That might be the end of Allode, and DC looking to try and clean it up for him.
We have 10 left, so anyone you saw that perished in the last few minutes is most likely being pulled in to the ladder. And I can't believe the C survived that. He takes the a la H1Z1 dip from the car, goes down, and it wasn't even inside the circle. He's outside of the circle, manages to crawl in and gets picked up there. Nice kill from Allode. And that team did very well to stay alive and to continue to push. Here is Lush hanging out on the cliffside, and he's not in the circle. The circle right now favoring those on the roadside there, which is definitely good for them since they sort of have a disadvantage of being in a spot where they might have a hard time getting up. Shulik with I Am Gorek, he's going to take him down with the M416, and we have 6 left alive.
And now looking for Pasha, trying to find it. Shulk, actually one of the players who's been able to pick up a few kills this game. Pasha knows he has to move. Shulk as well, recognizing there's another player nearby because he knows that person got knocked down. There's a teammate, has to be close because this circle is too small for them to be too spread out, but will ultimately have to favor his own life over the kill. Might be able to wrap around and pick up the C over here, as him and Allode are the only two currently inside the circle. Lush, Shulk, and I believe it's actually two other players all left alone at this point. It's going to be a 2v1, v1, 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 which makes things a little bit more interesting because Allode and the C could potentially pick things up, but they're also going to be probably one of the primary targets. Is right there. Disimoto going to take out Pasha, going to fall down, but reveals his location. Lush slowly but surely creeping in. The circle is ticking though, and he is taking quite a lot of damage just trying to get into the circle safe. There is going to be Disimoto, but he's not going to take the shots. He recognizes he's outside the circle, going to wait until he has the sure aim. And now with 4 left, it's going to be a 2v1v1 because Allode and the C are still alive, but the C right now is knocked out. Shulk was able to find that and is potentially looking to try and find the kill. Allode going to take him out and try to revive his teammate, and it's going to be a 2v1. Lush, one of the players you will recognize from the solo games that we ran for PUBG League. And this is going to be kind of his time to shine. He has to act now. He does not have the circle. He's up on the hill, but the C and Allode both very low. I think a smoke grenade's going to be tossed out, trying to be a distraction. And Lush playing the circle as well as he can, trying to kind of peek out. He's going to take a little bit of damage there, but trying to keep his eyes open for wherever he might be able to see it. He does have the Mini 14 silenced 4X on top. And just the patience coming out of it, just waiting patiently on the very edge of the circle, playing it very close, going to get spotted out, taken down right there. 8 kills for Allode as he takes down Lush, 3 kills for the C, and a very quick ending there. Lush tried to do his best to try and wrap around there, but the minute he recognized what was going on, things just went downhill. Allode, downhill from him, was able to pick it up.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast the 1v1v1 part of that equation goes down, because as soon as one of those players shoots, everyone else knows where they are. When it's a duo or a squad, you have less people around you that will potentially give themselves away. So seeing that and seeing how fast all those players went down, I honestly thought Lush was going to be able to take that as all the damage was going in the other direction, and he was able to get a great heal off, had a nice advantage there up at the top of the hill, and as you mentioned, had such great play in our solos play. If this is his time to shine, might be when he's a solo 1v2. But the other team definitely played that well. And as you can see, they have the kills to prove it. 8 and 3, nicely played by them. And those top 16 that you see there on your screen will round out the ladder for Dropzone 1. Very exciting times. And this means that we get to go from here into ladder play, and I'm excited to see how that kicks off, considering that this was qualifications and people were taking it easy, taking it cautious, not necessarily going for the high kill counts. I think things are really going to heat up when we start to get into the latter part of the matches.
And so for those who don't know, we've mentioned it a few times, but we now have everyone who's going to be qualified for Dropzone 1. We have prizes from ViewSonic and Cooler Master waiting for those who are able to go up, and the pricing or the scoring changes once we get into the ladder. So this one, it's just make it into the top. Once you get there, your kills are going to start counting too. The way that you play will affect your score in the game. Getting number 1, it's nice, but being able to get up a lot of kills is going to be able to help you out there too. But with that, that is going to be the last game we have for tonight and the last qualifiers that we have for this. So next week, we're going to be starting ladder play, and we will be taking a patience way until we get there. We'll have to wait that entire week. The just patience coming out from us. We all have to wait. But that is going to be it for the broadcast tonight. That is going to be it for myself, Gormizer. You can find me on Twitter at Gormizer. There's Heyday, who you can find on Twitter at Heyday TV. Of course, you can follow the production guys. We have Extreme Man doing the camera in-game. He's Extreme Man 25, and Unovi doing the wonderful overlays that you have been seeing all night. He's, I believe, just Unovi or Burrito Unovi, if you can find him. The BRT is what I'm being told, Unovi. And of course, thank you to PUBG League for running the event. It's always been fun. It's always great to come out and cast. I believe Heyday agrees with me on that one. And thank you to ViewSonic and Cooler Master for applying such great prizes when it comes down to it. A lot for these players to go for, and something that I believe is going to be taken seriously. But with that, that's going to be it for the broadcast. And we will see you guys in the Battlegrounds next week.
Later.